guys? Welcome to the Anomaly of Mo. Just having a little fun right now, walking around outside my house. You guys don't know who I am yet, or some of you don't know who I am yet. My name is Moses Delane, and I am a 21-and-a-half-year-old with a valuable voice, an interesting perspective on life, and through YouTube I'm going to try and share that perspective with absolutely as many people as possible. So if you're tuning in, this is day one, and that means you're day one. Hit that subscribe button for me, and I will love you forever. Welcome to the Anomaly of Mo. Woo! Okay, so previously I used writing stories as a means of sharing my life circumstances to my immediate community and my friends and my family about the things that were going on in my life. And I understand that I can make content like that a little bit more consumable if I don't make my listener, my audience member, have to read the whole thing. So I'm trying to upgrade to video. This is what this channel is going to be. A lot of stories that I have to tell, as well as an effort to show the world through my eyes. Again, my name is Moses Delane, and I'm studying community entrepreneurship at the University of Vermont. My dream career position would probably be some sort of community development consultant or coordinator. And with that in mind, as I start this series, The World Through My Eyes, I'm going to try and highlight little things that we can do to make our communities more efficient, more functional, and just good things for everyone. The good ideas that some communities are implementing in their communities, let's steal those and bring them everywhere and just have life go as smoothly as possible for everybody. The second thing I want to focus on is going to be self-betterment and how to take care of yourself and your mental and your body, and just let's better our communities on an individual basis and better our communities on a more large scale as well. So I'm 21 and a half years old. I currently live in Burlington, Vermont, but I didn't always live in Burlington, Vermont, and I'd like to catch my audience up to where I am in terms of understanding my story. And yeah, so I'm going to tell my story in 5 sections. It's going to be my creation, my childhood, BFA Fairfax, so my grade school, University of Hartford, and the University of Vermont. 5 sections. If you stay with me for all 5 sections, I will give you a hug next time I see you. If I see you. Yeah, okay. Are you ready? Story time? When I snap my fingers, I'm going to teleport into my room and tell you my story of who I am. Ready? Do, 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 do. Oh. Ah. Here I am. I got magic, guys. Genie powers. I can teleport. Alright. I'm locking in. We're in my room. Got a ring light because I feel like a professional. Woo! Turn it down a little bit. Bought a real microphone so you guys can hopefully hear me kind of well. Alright. Moment we've all been waiting for. Oh, straight from the horse's mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people who don't identify by either of those. My name is Moses Delane. This is my life story. Up until now, I'm 21. Chapter 1, my creation. So I was born in Chicago, Illinois in 1999, between my mother and my father, Paris and Verena. My Paris and Verena were only together for about 4 years in total. They met in 1997 when Paris was touring as a musician. He was a guitarist and a singer in the band Sonia Dada. And he meets my mom. They start dating. One thing leads to another. 2 years in, woo! Your boy Moses Delane pops out, and I'm a living, breathing human being. The relationship between my father and my mother was fairly toxic. My father was Mr. Rockstar guy, and he was going from, city to city and sleeping around. He slept around with my mom. He cheated on her definitely a couple of times. And he was both physically and emotionally abusive for the time period that he and my mom were together. There was an episode a year and a half after I was born where Paris was so abusive that it scared my mom's side of the family enough to have him get blackballed from the entirety of my life. So my mom was worried for my safety. She was worried for her safety. And when she went to go see like a therapist or a social worker to just kind of check in and see how her situation or her relationship compared to other relationships, when you were reading some sort of pamphlet on all the things in a toxic relationship, it felt like she was just finding quotes from things that Paris was saying, like, I'm the king of my castle, and, in my house, my rules, blah, 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 you're gonna do everything the way that I want to say. Very commanding, very toxic masculine energy in that relationship then. This dispute led to my family, my mom and I, moving from Chicago, Illinois to Cambridge, Vermont, where I would spend the first 4 or 5 years of my life living with my grandmother, my mother, and eventually my mom would remarry, and I would get a stepfather for my growing up period. Now, my grandmother is a very important human being, and I have to highlight her in my life story because a lot of the morals that I hold, I can directly tie to life lessons that my grandmother has taught me, even from a very young age. Omi, Margot, Haberland. Omi is what I call her. Her first name is Margot. Her last name was Haberland, but it's changed a couple times. Omi is an inspiration to me, and her story is so inspiring because when she was born, Omi was born in Poland during World War II times, mid-1930s, I believe. By the age of 7, Omi and her family was forced to relocate from their homes in Poland because the Russians were invading, and they were essentially kicked out of their home country. So she was forced to immigrate from Poland to East Germany, and then eventually sneak from East Germany to West Germany for majority of her childhood. So displaced at 7, gets to East Germany. She makes it to West Germany by 14, starts formal education, I believe. I really hope I'm not getting that wrong, because my grandma's a very smart lady, and if that date is wrong, I'm going to get yelled at. 14, my grandma is married at 18, and then at age 21, she immigrates from West Germany to America, the New York kind of area, and then she just sits in New York and Vermont, eventually Vermont, and paints and paints and paints and builds a career for herself. And yeah, that's kind of my lineage on my mom's side. By age 4 or 5, I could tell you that why it was super important for all of us to always finish our meals. And that's mostly because of lessons from my grandmother, where she would tell me about times during her childhood where she was so hungry that she was eating grass out of the ground, and how she had to learn to kind of make tea for herself and identifying flowers when she was younger. Just little things to create sustenance for herself. She wasn't always as privileged as I was having the opportunity to be, as a 5-year-old, where we knew that we were getting meals every night, and yeah, only really drove that home. If I did not finish my dinner, we would have it. I would have the leftovers for breakfast, and that was just further to emphasize that we can't be wasting food. Everything's got to be as efficient. We got to be grateful for everything. I really love my grandmother. She taught me a lot of good lessons. Age 4, I moved from Cambridge to Winooski area, Winooski, Vermont. My mother remarries, and Jordan Gullickson, and Verena would have my younger sibling, whose name is Sid, and that happened in about 2004. I start kindergarten in 2005, and then our little family, Jordan, Verena, myself, and Sid, would move from Winooski, Burlington area to Fairfax, Vermont, which is where I would spend majority of my grade school period, my childhood, my adolescence, my growing up, basically until college. From there on out, grade school gets kind of hectic. I want to put a trigger warning in here. I'm going to talk about some substance use issues. I'm going to talk about some suicidality. There's some racial trauma that I endure kind of growing up in this Vermont area. So I'm going to make sure that this information is as presentable and consumable as possible, and B, make sure that I warn anybody who might be shocked by my unusual childhood story just beforehand. Okay, let's start 3rd grade through 12th grade. That's going to be the next. So Jordan and Verena separate sometime during my 2nd grade year. By 3rd grade, I could tell as a youth that my mom had a drinking problem. Well, kind of. I was aware of something not quite being right. I remember coming home from basketball practice. I had a friend's family drop me off, and I walked into my living room, and she was passed out, drunk, on our living room carpet with a wine glass on the floor, kind of near her hand. But this was 3rd grade Moses. 3rd grade Moses did not know about connecting the dots between the wine glass and her being passed out and why that might have happened. So she looked like she was asleep. So I walked over to her, and I shook her a lot and tried to wake her up, and I couldn't wake her up. So I kind of admitted defeat at one point, and went to the kitchen, saw that my dinner was there and wrapped up, and I just needed to microwave it. So I did that and put myself to sleep as a 3rd grader. Yeah. For a lot of my youth, I just learned to kind of be independent and not have to put too much faith in my mother, because between her working her night job as a waitress and her alcohol dependency, I did not really have an available parent, or it didn't feel like. I did a lot of things on my own. I didn't really ask for money unless I absolutely had to, because a lot of times I would do that. It would come back to bite me, or some new issue would come up where I'd do something wrong, and she'd be like, "Oh, well, I helped you here, so you need to be perfect and have this be good," and blah blah blah. But that's just mom stuff, I guess. I would eventually be able to rectify this kind of broken relationship that I felt like I had with my mom, but that would not come until very recently in my life. I'm 21, just to mention that again, and we only really started fixing things a year ago. So I just want to emphasize, things at home were not great. It was me, it was my mom, and it was my younger sibling Sid for a long time. At the end of 6th grade, my mom meets this guy. His name's Brent. They started dating, and as a result, well, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So Brent lived in Portland, Oregon, and he and my mom were old friends, and they wanted to try something, so we moved across the country 3,000 miles to Portland, Oregon, where they would start the relationship, and then 8 months later, end the relationship. So I would end moving back to Fairfax. Eventually, I'm back at Fairfax by the beginning of 8th grade, and I would stay in Fairfax until I graduate um, in the year of 2017. After I came back from Portland, I noticed that I was starting to be treated a bit differently by my community than before. Before I left, I was starting to be like kind of pointed at as the one black guy. People were telling me like a lot more that I was different, and 8th grade was the first year that I had a slur directly used against me. I had some guy scream the N-word at me from down a hallway, and this memory for a while just like rattled inside my brain because I didn't have the school really intervene in any way, shape, or form, and I really felt like I was on my own for most of this time. It was like an issue that only I was dealing with, and we didn't really have like active bystanders in the community. Like they existed, but like I don't know, people didn't really stand up for me. I got picked on a lot. But despite that, the racial pressure, harassment stuff, and my mom being a single alcoholic mother, and my own kind of fears, my weird. It took me a while to really establish any sort of relationship with my father. I actually would go the entirety of the rest of his life before meeting him. I saw him for the first time at his funeral, which was like 2 years ago. Yeah, life has been crazy. I want to pause here just for a second so I can realize where I am in this story and then try to tie this into our last two sections, which is more college and post. I wouldn't say post-college. I'll get to it when I get to it. Thanks for listening. Despite all my crazy environment stuff, I graduate from BFA Fairfax as a three-sport athlete. I was a standout ultimate frisbee player. I was a National Honor Society student. I received awards for chorus. I was in the band for a little while. I did backstage for the play. I did a whole bunch of community service stuff. I was like on paper like Mr. Wonderful, blah blah blah. But behind the scenes, my life was very stressful and hard because of my family life and just the experiences and traumas I was forced to endure during my childhood. It was a stressful time for a lot of people, and it took a really long time for a lot of those issues to get solved. Cue my college years, because this is when a lot of this stuff got solved. Okay, so I didn't really have any help navigating the college scene. And by college scene, I mean signing up for college, picking a school, applying, doing all the paperwork stuff. I didn't really have a lot of a guide for doing this. I was a 17-year-old when I graduated with graduated with my diploma from Bellsper Academy, Fairfax, and I signed up for the University of Hartford because they emailed me, and I saw that they were a D1 university and that their frisbee team went to regionals the following year. So I'm like, all right, this will be fun, and I have a great first year at the University of Hartford. Great time. Beginning of the second year, things kind of hit the fan, if I'm being real. My freshman year, I was studying psychology at the University of Hartford, and playing very good frisbee. I was like an unofficial rookie of the year because they didn't actually give out an award, but the vets there were like, this guy's rookie of the year, and so I owned that title. I was also an MVP and an all-state frisbee player in high school, so getting that rookie of the year title like meant a lot to me. And at the end of my freshman year, I was feeling good. I was like, all right, next year, University of Hartford, I'm going to keep going for psychology. Actually, that's not true. I, at this point, really like psychology because as a high schooler, I got to serve as a peer support counselor. And at BFA Fairfax, a peer support counselor is a high schooler who is taught by the director of guidance basic counseling skills, communication skills, as well as a lot of information pertaining to real high school culture issues, like the introduction to substances and what healthy relationships look like, and suicidality, depression, talking about basically everything, you know, just training high school students the right way to deal with real life issues, so they can share that information with their classmates on a peer-to-peer, high school, youth-to-youth kind of basis, rather than having an authority figure like a director of guidance or a teacher or a principal bringing this information to the community like that. Subconsciously, and I think probably consciously, I really fell in love with being a peer support counselor because I felt like I could fix a lot of the issues that I couldn't fix myself for other people. I put my heart on my sleeve a lot, and there's points where I, just especially in high school, had a lot of trouble prioritizing helping other people versus taking care of myself. But I figured that stuff out as I grew up, especially after finishing my freshman year. I started to move kind of away from playing this kind of therapy role, rehabilitation role, and starting to think more about policy and prevention. And if you think about just like the timeline of things, and let's say problems or issues are a line right in the middle, I want to be able to stop these issues from happening before they happen, rather than being like a rehabilitation role and having to like catch issues on the other side after they've already, happened. So this inspired me to move away from psychology and more into policy, politics, a little closer to community entrepreneurship, but I'm not quite there yet. My sophomore year at the University of Hartford, everything goes to poop. That summer, going into my sophomore year, my mother informed me that she hadn't saved any money for me. She didn't have any good enough credit for me to get a loan, so I was likely not going to be able to go back to the University of Hartford and continue my education. I remember this day, it was, I think, July 2nd, and in my head I was like, I have 2 more months, I think I can figure this out. So I ran my own GoFundMe and raised the money I needed to return to the University of Hartford, and I was super pumped to come back. I felt like I had all the support of my community on my shoulders pushing me, and I'm like, yes, I'm going to do it. And then the University of Hartford bureaucracy system just hit me like a ton of bricks, and my sophomore year goes to poop. My sophomore year at the University of Hartford was probably one of the hardest life experiences I've ever had to deal with. I felt neglected by my university and half of my professors, and I go into very in-depth detail about why this sophomore year went to poop in a story that I wrote called Sincerely a Student from the University of Hartford. So I'm going to just leave that link somewhere around here rather than talking you through the whole story. But I guess an important end-all and transition point in this was at the end of this sophomore year, I make the decision to transfer away from the University of Hartford and return to my home state in Vermont, where I would eventually pick community entrepreneurship as my major, with hopes of doing, as I've kind of talked about a little bit in this video, community development, trying to extend myself and my ability to fix things for me, for other people, for us, for all of humanity. I've been doing a lot of work to build my social capita, so my network is very strong. I might not be the person with all the information in my head, but if you have a question or a project that you want to do, I probably know someone who can help you. And I've rode that social capita as my strength for so long, to the point where I'm ready, and I kind of own my ability to influence society and my friends and the way that I think and the way that they think. And
it's exciting to see, especially for me. Like, back in high school, I was very in my bag. I was suicidal for a time during my junior year, and I will for sure make an episode about mental health and personal well-being stuff, as well as some of the things that I've done to kind of keep my head on straight. I think it's on straight. And yes, so the point of me making this video and just starting to kind of introduce who I am and my story is because I want to let you in on my perspective on life. So now later when I make YouTube episodes highlighting things, maybe you have a little bit more of an understanding of who I am, and through that you're able to connect with my content more. I like the idea of living my life with no secrets. I want to be able to wear my heart on my sleeve and just be honest and be Moses Delane and ride that until the wheels fall off. So with that, this is the Anomaly of Moses Delane. The Anomaly, I like anomaly as a word. It's like a statistical anomaly. Like, there aren't many people who you will meet ever who are biracial, raised in an all-German household in rural Vermont, where their junior year of high school they would discover that they have 4 older siblings from the south side of Chicago, that their mother and themselves as me, would be shocked to hear about. There's a lot of very dramatic and fun details of my life that makes me who I am, and one of my favorite things to do is tell stories. So I feel like this YouTube relationship might be a match made in heaven. I have a lot of stories I want to share, a lot of good I want to do, both for myself and for everyone. And with that, I say thank you for tuning in. Hopefully this ride will be fun and exciting for everyone involved. And give me a comment. You got an idea for a video that I should make? I play Ultimate Frisbee. I'll likely make some Ultimate Frisbee videos. I want to make advice for college freshmen or advice for college students, where I make a little series on things that you should pay attention to as a college student and mistakes to try to avoid, and a whole bunch of stuff. I am full of content. If nothing else, I have a lot of life experience. So here I am, trying to give it away. Thank you for tuning in. This has been your boy. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and that's all I got for you. Thanks so much. Stay tuned. Stay blessed. I don't have a closing line yet. All right, bye.